Anna's on.
Anna, hi. Good morning.
Good morning.
From California. Good morning. Oh my goodness. You must have warm weather. I'm back from vacation. I was in Turks and Caicos, so I had 80 degrees and now I'm back to 35. So I'm adjusting. Whenever I think of California, I think warm weather.
Mm-hmm.
I think of Wisconsin, cold weather. So
we just have varied weather.
No, I have goosebumps, and it's not from spirit. It's because I'm cold. I suppose I should have put a long sleeve shirt on. Just trying to get acclimated back to the colder weather. But anyways, we're just a little early. It's not quite 9 o'clock yet. So, yeah.
I should start this.
Yeah, the recording. All of these things. We weren't on last week because I was gone. So, got to remember, look at the cobwebs out of our brains. But
Julie's on.
Who is Julie? Good morning, Julie. I'm so glad you guys remembered we'd be back on today. Got back from vacation yesterday and I was like, I didn't remember till you told me. Are we going live tomorrow?
I got to switch this over. I forgot.
Oh, we got to go to a different Wi-Fi.
You were missed last week.
What's that?
She's just said you were missed last week.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Grace. Loved. No, I guess it was never 90. Sunshine, warm. Are we good?
Yeah, it looks like it.
Our Wi-Fi is good and everything. And so, yeah, this worked out really well going with YouTube. A lot simpler, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, because Facebook is, we all know sometimes Facebook has issues. But we got one more minute, then we'll start talking about what we want to talk about today.
Mm-hmm.
So
this keeps going on and off. So
what does that mean?
I don't know. I thought that was the number of people. But it keeps going on and off.
Yeah, I don't know.
Are you still on, Julie? I'm just curious because our person count keeps going from 1 to 2 to 0. So I didn't know if you were. Okay.
All right. It's 9. Goodness gracious. We ready?
I don't care. Whatever you want to do.
Well, we're going to just start. And then, of course, it's always taped, so you can always watch it again. But I'm so grateful everybody joins us again to try to raise our vibrations up and for the next week and just be positive. This earth is kind of can be some dense energies down here. So let's raise our vibrations. So
thank you, Anna.
Thank you.
I'm just trying to figure out what this means on the screen here. So that just must mean the number of chats and not the number of people that are attending. So thanks for the feedback, Hannah.
So, yeah. So we didn't do it last week. I was on vacation.
Yep.
And guess what? Can't do it next week, which sounds awful. I mean, we were trying to do this all the time, but we will be at Louisville, Kentucky. And we will be doing the paranormal investigation at the sanatorium in Waverly. I don't know. Yep. You guys can see that. Okay. So, and we're doing that a Sunday night.
Yeah. Sunday.
So we'll be
8 p.m. to 4 a.m. Monday morning. So.
Yeah. And then, so we'll be traveling down there. So again, sorry, you guys, we'll have to catch up even on the following week, but it'll be interesting because by then I'm hoping we'll have had some time to edit all of the filming stuff we're taking. Got a couple gimbals to try to keep it from making people nauseous, So I'm taping, and yeah, I'm hoping it goes really, really well.
Yeah.
So.
Hope so too.
I know. All right. What do we want to talk about today?
So, sometimes what we do is we look at some of the aspects from the medicine wheel, from the shamanic stuff, from the medicine wheel teachings. And we did a blog. Our newsletter comes out on Tuesday, which I'm sure most of you are aware. And the blog normally goes out the same day. And so since Beth was gone and having fun partying, She didn't get a chance to look at the blog or read it. So
No.
she looked at it this morning and said, well, we should just talk about that. So we're going to chat about that a little bit. And it was about invisibility, which is one of the teachings of the North in the medicine wheel. The medicine wheel has 4 directions: south, west, north, and east. There's an archetype for each of the 4 directions that has different characteristics. And each of the 4 directions also have several concepts that you work on from a teaching from that you learn as you go through that. And they're typically about, spirit, connection with spirit. They're about yourself, because the medicine wheel is really about you going through a personal transformation as well as a healing, and additionally learning tools on how to connect directly with spirit. So when you get to the North, you start to delve a little bit more into some of the spiritual aspects. But with that being said, one of the teachings of the North is invisibility. And the concept behind that is this idea that you disown those parts of you that you don't like, those parts of you that you're not happy about in yourself. You have a hard time seeing those. But what happens is you see those in others, so they become a projection of yourself onto others. And those aspects of other people that you don't like, that irritate you, that piss you off, when you see those aspects from other people, the teachings of the North, you begin to get into that idea of questioning that. Okay, so this person is doing something that irritates me, that I don't like. Is that actually something I don't like, or is that a projection of myself? Is that a shadow, the shadow side of myself that I'm projecting outwards onto other people? And so you begin to go through this process of learning how to identify, as well as learning how to separate that. And so if you begin to question those things that you don't like in other people, or that irritate you in other people, and then you shift to this aspect of the observer or the witness. And when you are that observer or that witness, then you are pulling you away from yourself. You're trying to step out of yourself so that you are not entangled in your own emotions. You're looking at it objectively. We had talked early on about, in one of the earlier streams, about this idea of perceptual states, of shifting through perceptual states to make it easier to see what's going on or to perceive what's going on. And so when you shift to a perceptual state where you're disassociating any of the emotions from it, it allows you to look at it objectively. And that's what you need to do from that aspect of the observer, the witness. You want to look at this objectively so that you can identify whether that is really a characteristic of somebody that you just don't like, or it's actually an aspect of yourself that you are projecting onto them. And so once you identify that it is that aspect of yourself, that shadow self that you're projecting on other people. Now that you've identified it, you begin this process of working on that, working with that shadow self. And you begin to go through that process of identifying what it is, what are those aspects, where did it come from, was it a trauma that created it? And now you begin this process of working to heal that and to change that aspect. And where this whole idea of invisibility comes from is that once you are no longer projecting those aspects of yourself outwards, you have nothing left to hide. And once you have nothing left to hide, that's when you become invisible. And so that's where this concept of invisibility in the North comes from. And so it's really a fascinating, to me, it's been fascinating to do that work and work on that, because I constantly try and do that. It's like, okay, this person's irritating me, or I don't like what they're doing. And I immediately try and shift into that idea of, okay, is this something that I just don't like? Or is this an aspect of myself that, excuse me, I haven't identified yet that I'm projecting onto others?
Right. It's interesting because we've talked about this on several occasions, because like when I first learned this concept, I was like, one thing I cannot stand is lying. But I don't lie because I probably was killed in a past lifetime by somebody lying to me, right?
Mhm.
So I don't know how that goes, because it's like I do not lie. If I will always like put a little cherry on top if it's to not hurt somebody's feelings,
Mhm.
so I do change that. But so how do you answer that when I don't lie, but that it is one of my biggest pet peeves when people
Well,
don't
that's
tell
why
me the
you
truth?
move into that aspect of the witness or the observer, so you can try and sort through that to figure out if it's actually a part of you that you're projecting,
Mhm.
that shadow side of you that you've been hiding, or
Mhm.
is that really just, part of your character, part of your integrity, part of what
Mhm.
you see is um, that you value,
Right.
and
Okay.
they're going against that. So that's that aspect of having to step
Step
back.
back and then redefined it. So it's not really shadow part of myself.
You
It's
have to
just
identify whether it is a shadow or not. Okay. Just because somebody's irritating you doesn't mean that it's a shadow side.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're
Yeah.
standing there and you're watching one person, beat on another one. Doesn't mean that that's a shadow side of yourself. It just means I don't think that's the way that you're supposed to treat people. So that's where you step back.
I love that. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. And it was also another reason I wanted to do this was because this came up on vacation too.
Mhm.
And we were talking about how, a friend always was like, can't stand this person because she's judgy. She's judgy. And I always was like, she doesn't judge. She never judges. And I was like, oh, and I don't want to like say, oh my gosh, that's her shadow self. But in
Mhm.
some ways it is kind of nice to be like, to even just say, oh, I understand where she was now coming from,
Mhm.
and yet I can't fix her part of herself of that, even though I tried for years saying, she doesn't judge, stop. It's for that person to fix.
Right.
She has to fix that of herself, but yet she has to realize it,
So you have to identify it
identify
first.
it. And also, so here, when we are light-minded people, we always want to think up and above and how we can change things and
Right.
fix things. But and that's okay. I always say not everybody's ready to do the work this lifetime around.
Mhm.
So yeah, even it came up on vacation
Right.
because it was like, oh my gosh, it even just kind of like validated it for me.
Mhm.
Like, oh my God, I was sitting there for years, putting my energy into like trying to help this girl and say, stop, stop. You're literally judging.
Right.
You're judging her, and yet it was the shadow self. So it
Yeah.
was really cool. I don't know.
Yeah. And once you can't have shadows when you have light. So once you shine light on it, once you bring light to it, it's no longer a shadow. So once you step into that aspect of the witness or the observer and you look at this and identify that it's a shadow side of yourself, it can no longer live in the shadow. So now you're aware of it. So, that's the same concept with your fears. Once anything that you're afraid of can live in the dark. And once you bring light to that, the fear can no longer hide in the dark. So this aspect of trying to bring light or bring illumination to it or identify it or focus on it helps to make it so that it's no longer in the shadow side, in the darkness.
I do like that. That was a good one, because it really, even for me, like we talk about so many different things throughout our lives and days, and having breakfast, and
Mhm.
interesting how it came up on vacation. And yeah,
Mhm.
I've been struggling with, I don't lie, so why can I not stand that type of thing? So good. Thank you.
You're
See,
welcome.
look at there, living with him all this time, and I'm still learning something.
And so one of from the shamanic ceremonial part, full moon is you do a fire ceremony at full moon because it's a transformative ceremony. It helps you to, doing it at the full moon is a time of transformation, helps you to release and to change things. But the shadow side work you do when it's a new moon, because it's in that dark. There's no light because it's the new moon. There's no light then. So when you do the shadow side work, if you do any type of a fire ceremony from a shamanic standpoint, you always do it on a new moon instead of the full moon.
Well, now we have just a little sliver of a moon.
Right.
That's it. Does that still count?
Yep. If you really look at the lunar cycle, there's
Yeah.
like, you can do, let me finish that thought and I'll answer Julie's question. So when you look at the lunar cycle, there's typically like 3 to 4 days where it's, really a full moon or a new moon. I mean, you can get technical and try and do it exactly at the point where it's a full moon, but you don't need to. It's about all of that. Good morning, Melissa.
Good morning, Melissa.
So the eclipse is a different time period. That's when you can do specific or special ceremonies. I mean, you've got energies of both the sun and the moon at the same time. So that's like during the equinox, the fall or spring equinox, or summer solstice or winter solstice. You can do the same thing then. It's about this aspect of a shamanic ceremony. You can create a shamanic ceremony at any time. What you need is intention, and you need power or energy, your own personal power or energy, and you need some type of an offering. So, good morning, Kim.
Morning, Kim.
And so that's where you create a shamanic ceremony at any point that you want. And I'm going to just go off the tracks here slightly. That's one of the things I really appreciate about this aspect of shamanism, is that you can create a ceremony at any point. You don't have to wait till a Sunday to be in ceremony, which is how a lot of the structured religions are, or Saturday or Wednesday, depending upon what belief structure you're in. And so you can create these ceremonies at any point. And so the idea of an eclipse or a full moon or a new moon or any of these other ones just adds to the significance of what you're doing from a ceremonial standpoint. It also adds to the energy and the power of it.
Mm-hmm. Did you want to see what Kim has to say?
When you're looking at, and I'm not sure what you're referring to, and it's Scott. So Kim says, when you are looking at somebody and it's Scott, not a lot of light, are you supposed to be able to see somebody's shadow self on their facial structures? Can you see someone's shadow self by looking at them? Well, the idea of the shadow self is it's those parts of you that you've disowned. So it's those aspects of yourself that you don't identify with. I'm not that type of person. I don't do that. And so that's the idea of the shadow self. It's a shadow to your own self, not necessarily to other people. So it's things you've disowned and no longer identify with or don't want to identify with. So it's a shadow. Your shadow's behind you. You don't see your shadow. You don't look for it. That's where the idea of that shadow self comes from. So it's not really that you look at somebody and see their shadow self, because everybody else might be able to see that's an aspect of me that I've disowned. And everybody else can see it, but I can't see it. So that's why they call it the shadow self.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, and this will be, it's going to be stay on our YouTube channel, so you can watch the whole thing, Kim and Melissa, because you got on a little bit late, but we are discussing today our shadow selves and how to fix it, how to work on it.
The idea of
it.
Yeah.
So this is a very good little talk for a Sunday morning.
You can see it on someone. So you're not seeing the shadow side of someone, Kim. You're seeing an aspect of them. You can see it, but to the person, it's a shadow self. To you, it's not their shadow. It's an aspect of themselves. What makes it a shadow side is that I don't identify with it. No problem, Melissa. So it's only a shadow to me. So if you're identifying something in me, if you see something in me and I don't see it or I don't acknowledge it, it's my shadow. But you're still seeing it as part of me. So whether I identify with it or don't identify with it, let me put it this way. You see something in me and I identify with it. It's not a shadow side. You see something in me and I don't identify with it, it's part of my shadow side. So you looking at it, you can't necessarily tell if it's shadow or not. It's how I identify with it. That's what makes it the shadow side or not. Does that make sense, Kim?
You know, and I was also talking about my friend who thinks, she's like, I've helped her for years. She judges somebody else. She's like, she keeps saying that person judges me. She judges me. And I'm like, that person that you think is judging you isn't judging at all. And so I was like, always trying to help the first person, trying to say to her, she's not judging you. And yet I feel like she couldn't see her own shadow self.
Right.
And yet me saying it to her didn't help her see the shadow self.
Right.
And so it was eventually just, I was like, oh my gosh, it's such a waste of time. I can't keep repeating this because she's not ready to fix this in herself. Right. And I just thought I was always doing the best I could, but eventually maybe it's not this lifetime that she's supposed to work on this. And that's okay. Right.
No, I'm glad, Anna. So to use the example you were just talking about, she assumed everybody else was judging her because she judges people all the time. And so that's a classic example of that shadow self. Even though this other person doesn't judge her, she thought that she was. She thought that other person judged her because that's the way that she normally did things. She always judged people. So that's the shadow side of herself that she couldn't identify with, that she projected onto other people.
You know, and me not wanting to ever hurt anybody's feelings, because I was really wanting to say to her, well, you're the one that's judging. Look, you know, you turn it around. But yet again, it's in this world, it's not for us to always point it out to people. You know, it's for her to fix. She's not, it didn't help with me just always trying to be like, no, don't, she doesn't. So it was wasting my energies.
To answer Melissa's question, does this kind of fall into the hurt people thing? It can. You know, a classic example to kind of talk about that is somebody was abused their whole life as a child, and now when they get older, the only way they know how to show love is to abuse. And so that may not necessarily be the shadow side of them. That just might be because of the trauma that they have. So hurt people hurting others may not necessarily be the shadow. It might just be the traumas that they've experienced, and that's the only way that they know how to express things.
Express and cope and
Yeah. So not necessarily, Melissa.
Yeah. You know, and it just, that opens up so many things too. It's like, and it's nice that we have a shaman to help heal, you know, again, not that we're talking about healings and stuff, but, you know, hurt people. Yeah. That's just hard. And yes, judgy people can judge people and hurt people. So how are we doing here? What's Kimmy saying?
So Kim says, I saw someone's other self at night. It was their face, but not the human face. It was dark, even though they mean well. He was a soldier. He was describing his military life. Could be an attachment.
Yep.
You know, it could be shadow. No, I don't want to say shadows. It could be energy from past lives, from traumas. Those are all different aspects that could come up in that type of a situation. It's not necessarily their shadow side. You know, the shadow side has to be something you identify in them that they don't identify in themselves. That's really the simplified version of shadow side.
And sometimes that somebody needs an extraction sometimes on that one.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. So we're kind of at our time. So as a reminder, we will not be on next weekend.
Again.
Yep.
We're not on vacation this time.
No.
We're going to be at the sanatorium.
Yep.
Hopefully helping a lot of people, spirits. Don't know how, but we'll be, of course, recording a lot and throwing it on the YouTube channel, but we'll be discussing it in 2 weeks.
Probably.
Yeah. That'll be awesome. Do I know the date? I'm going to just quickly jump on. Let's see here. So it'll be the 7th of May. Wow. Really?
Yeah.
That seems like forever.
Well, it's 2 weeks.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. We're trying to be like weekly, but life keeps getting in the way. And
Yep.
the sanatorium thing is going to be exciting. But what I'm not worried about is like not sleeping. Well, taking a little nap. And I am, 58. I like to sleep. So, and I'll be hanging on to Rick. Scared, or maybe not. But anyways, you guys are all great. Thank you for joining us this morning. And then this will be on the YouTube channel, so you can watch it from the beginning. Kim and
Kim said she was on. She just couldn't figure out how to chat.
Okay, gotcha. Oh, perfect.
Good.
Yeah, we're gonna do this from now on because it's just easier. Facebook is too what?
We're having too many issues with Facebook. So, all right. Have a great day, everybody.
Have a great day, great week. Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.